not, but certainly the refs made the right call on that play. Yeah. And it was interesting because even the play that was designed, it was for Bradley Beal. And he didn't catch it well. He fumbled the ball, lost control, but managed to regain it and find Branch wide open. And he had the concentration to go up and finish and get the win.
You know, it's very much reminiscent of last year when John Wall was out for the 40-plus games and Bradley Beal was putting up this outstanding numbers. The one hole people would like to poke in his game was that oftentimes he wasn't able to come through in the fourth quarter and in clutch moments. Here, he missed a couple of shots down the stretch, and you mentioned he slipped and almost turned it over, but was still had the smarts to get rid of the ball and make the play.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, here's the main thing. It's about winning plays. We always look at making shots like Bradley Beal did on that last play and on that play there as well. But it's really making the right play. And in that situation, having the presence of mind down the stretch to be able to gather himself and then make the right read and not try to force something that wasn't there, really shows him his decision-making down the stretch. He had some big shots in the second half. I think he had 8 points in the first half.
Right.
Definitely stepped up his play. We saw in that video footage right there. But down the stretch, not panicking, keeping your composure, making the right read, and Thomas Branch had just a nice, easy layup attempt and was able to convert.
Beal had 9 points in the fourth quarter. The Wizards trailed by as many as 12 in the final period, as many as 19 in the game.
Excuse me, Thomas Bryant. I apologize.
Bryant,
yes, I'm sorry.
Look, I appreciate you got it right.
Well, yeah. He's a rookie, or second year. But
this was an important game here as we look the Wizards right now in the 11th spot entering the day here. And while they still have to leapfrog Orlando, Detroit, and Charlotte, they're only 3 games back in the loss column. Coming off of a big loss the other night in double overtime at home against Toronto, Ted Leonsis said before this game, the owner of the Wizards, "We are never, ever tanking." Bradley Beal told Ted Leonsis, and he told this to reporters earlier this morning, that we feel like we have enough. We are going to make the playoffs. This is a big win. If you are expecting to make the playoffs and not going to tank for a draft pick or a lottery pick, you had to get this one.
They had to get it. And I really love what both Ted Leonsis and Bradley Beal both have publicly said about this team and this season. Mm-hmm. You know, ownership, you want to establish the vision. And you want to reinforce that with all the uncertainty, all the setbacks, the injuries, not playing up to par to start the season. Okay, let's press the refresh button. This is what we're trying to accomplish. We're still in a situation where we can make the playoffs. Let's establish this vision. Let's have some direction. Bradley Beal gets on board, comes out, and really exudes some leadership here. And you know what? Came out there in the second half and sort of willed his team to victory, and somehow, some way, were able to get it done. But you know what? They got to take care of business. You know, they can't keep saying we're a few games out or whatever. You got to start getting on a roll now and start winning some games and playing good basketball. In a moment like this, going abroad, coming together, spending time together on the road, having a great win can really help catapult you as you come back to the States and play.
Wizards have now won 6 of 9. Meanwhile, the Knicks have lost 5 straight. Grant Hill, Jared Greenberg, Game Time Live presented by Kia, and we've got plenty more to do. Third returns are in. Coming up next, we'll take a close look at who the fans want to start in the 2019 All-Star Game. LeBron and Giannis are leading the way, but could Luka really be a starter? Plus, one game in the books on this Thursday will get you set for the rest of tonight's schedule, including a status update on Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard. Join us next on NBA TV for Game Time Live, presented by Kia, 10 before tip style, and it's next. Here's what's happening as it's happening right now around the NBA. Fans remain consistent. LeBron and Giannis still the leading vote getters, but we'll discuss if Luka can hold on to a starting spot, making the call. We'll ask Grant Hill about Kyrie's decision to not only call LeBron to apologize, but also to let the world know about the call. We're talking with the newsmakers and news reporters, opinion, perspective, and predictions. This is Game Time Live, presented by Kia, 10 before tip style. Thanks for being with us as we discuss the biggest stories of the day and set the table for the night in the NBA. I'm Jared Greenberg. Tonight on a special edition of 10 Before Tip, we will get you the Kia post game following the Wizards' win in dramatic fashion over the Knicks in London. More on that game to come in a moment. As always, 10 before tip number 1, it's what's happening right now. Well, Joel Embiid is listed as questionable for tonight's game on TNT against the Pacers. Embiid did participate in this morning's shoot-around despite dealing with lower back tightness. Tonight marks the start of a huge stretch for Philly. Each of their next 12 games are against opponents with a winning record. 8 games will be against top 5 teams in their respective conferences. Philly is 1-2 this season. When Embiid doesn't play, he is a game-time decision and we'll keep you posted. Kawhi is out for what the team is calling rest/load management. So much fun to say, Grant. Love being able to call out players for load management. The Raptors are back at home tonight against the Suns on the second night of a back-to-back. Last night, Kawhi played 36 minutes in Toronto's loss in Boston. Kawhi has yet to play both ends of a back-to-back this season. We bring in the Hall of Famer Grant Hill on Game Time Live, presented by Kia, 10 before tip style. Welcome to your favorite program on the network, Grant.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, Grant, it's great.
Thank you.
You're the biggest star we've ever had, literally, on the show. Grant, so what is your take on Kawhi Leonard having yet to play a full back-to-back this season and how the Raptors are handling Kawhi?
You know, Jerry, I don't mind that. I mean, obviously, I had a series of injuries during my career. Kawhi, we forget. You know, Kawhi was out all of last year or most of last season. So, you know, we see his greatness. We see the team playing well. But this is smart for them to manage it. The team has done a pretty decent job playing well, even when he's out, maintaining a sense of chemistry throughout the season. Big picture this year in Toronto. It's not about having the best record in the Eastern Conference. It's about getting to the finals and trying to win a championship. And they need they need a healthy, they need a guy, Kawhi Leonard, at his best. So I don't mind it one bit. And you know what's great? When he sat out, it hasn't affected his rhythm and his timing. When he's come back, he's ready to go. And so I think it's been good, and I don't have a problem with it. You know, it would have been nice to get that win on the road against Boston and have him sit here tonight, but you can't win them all.
Lowry out as well tonight against the Phoenix Suns, a league pass game. 10 before tip number 2. See you in a moment here, Grant. It's what's buzzing today around the NBA. Let's talk about the All-Star returns. The third round are in. The fans, well, they are voting for 50% of the starters. The other 50% comes from the media and the players. This is the third returns. And once again, for the third straight week, Giannis leads the Eastern Conference and LeBron leads the Western Conference. So if this were to hold to form, coming up on February 7th on TNT, these two would be the ones doing the first ever NBA All-Star draft. They would be the captains. Dwayne Wade staying firm at the second spot among guards in the Eastern Conference. Wade hasn't been an All-Star in a couple of years. Meanwhile, Derrick Rose, who's played only a couple of games in 2019, is still the second leading vote getter among guards in the Western Conference. And the most compelling story right now is the Western Conference forwards. Luka Doncic right now is in the second spot behind LeBron James. That's ahead of the likes of Kevin Durant, the head of the likes of Anthony Davis, Paul George. Luka Doncic has received the third most votes of any player in the NBA, trying to do what Grant Hill did, start in the NBA All-Star game. We'll talk about that in a moment. But another compelling race right now for the All-Star game is the second guard spot in the Eastern Conference. I think we all agree Kyrie Irving is very much deserving of an All-Star spot. It'd be hard to argue against that. But who is second most deserving? We certainly told you about Dwayne Wade, but what about Kemba Walker, who got off to that scorching hot start this season, but his team has tailed off. The game is in Charlotte this year. He'd be the sentimental pick. Ben Simmons, the triple-double machine. His Sixers are playing really good basketball, and he's putting out outstanding numbers. Now, Victor Oladipo is interesting. He's missed 11 games due to injury, and his team fared pretty well without him. Does he get penalized for all those games missed? Kyle Lowry, well, he's a guy who's not scoring a lot, but his assist numbers are through the roof, and Lowry appears to be maybe the most important player on the Raptors roster. So, Grant, who should get that second guard spot in the Eastern Conference next to Kyrie Irving?
Wow, that's a tough question because they're all deserving of that. You can make an argument. You know, you talk about Victor Oladipo in Indiana right now in the third spot. He's missed 11 games, but you know what? LeBron James missed some games too.
Certainly has.
I think he'll, so it's interesting to see what happens there. Obviously.
So wait, did you just say LeBron shouldn't be an All-Star?
No, I was just saying. I mean, since LeBron's going to miss, so should
right.
and still be allowed Victor Oladipo
right.
as well. Simmons is putting up gaudy numbers, but I like Kemba Walker. I'm sorry, the game's in Charlotte.
Right.
He's been spectacular. Look at those numbers, 25 a game. His team is still in the 8th spot. I love Kyle Lowry, but I got to go with Kemba Walker on this.
And Luka, should he start?
You know what? I have no problem with that. I actually don't mind that. The fans have been pretty accurate. I love Antetokounmpo and LeBron as the captains.
Right.
And Luka, yeah, he keeps putting up numbers and keeps shining like he has been. You know what? Not only is he an all-star, I think he's a starter.
Wow, he'd be the first rookie to start the All-Star game since Yao Ming in 2002. And prior to Yao, you did it.
My man.
That's right.
Thanks
Giving
for
you
the
some props. You want to do some more 10 before tip style?
I love it, man. This is high energy here, man. I got to keep up.
Woo! Game Time Live presented by Kia.
Check my heart rate.
Ben Simmons is going to play tonight. Will Joel Embiid play? We'll go live out to Indiana when we come back on the Game Time Live presented by Kia. 10 before tip time.
We got 2 games for you on Thursday, trusting the process, visiting the Pacers, and then the Lakers and Russell Westbrook and PG-13. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Coverage starts at 6:30 with the Game Time. That's us on NBA TV. Now, you notice I didn't say LeBron because he will not be playing. LeBron James out for at least 2 more games. However, he has been cleared to return to practice next week. Since injuring his groin, the Lakers have gone 4-7 in 11 games without him. Their next 2 are on the road at OKC, which is on our network, and at Houston. And Rich Paul, his agent, weighed in today, reading, quote, "We don't give a bleep what anyone, but nobody thinks or says. We're going to do what's best for him. The best case scenario was 3 weeks. The worst case was 6 weeks. And we're right on schedule," end quote. Rich Paul drops the mic and walks off. Number one, how often do agents put out statements like this for their players speaking for them as a spokesperson? How often do you see this in the NBA or any professional sport?
It's unique.
Happens.
Yeah,
Does it seem unusual or am I tripping?
No, I think it's unique in LeBron's case because we're so
Yes.
used to hearing directly from LeBron James. But I would sense that the rancor about where's LeBron rescue this season, as it cranks up, there are going to be instances where somebody has to say something. I think this might have been Rich Paul just kind of want to set the record straight. I think it makes a lot of sense, too, Fish. If there was an internal understanding of what the timeline would be for LeBron, there's no amount of outside pressure or social media that's going to accelerate it. I mean, this is a guy who has never really been sidelined in this way, so why would you rush at this stage of the career? It would be foolish.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I think he's spot on. Whether we typically hear from Rich or not, it makes sense. He's LeBron's agent. His job description is to do what's best for LeBron. So what he says makes sense, and I agree in terms of the timing. I think everyone's just kind of clamoring for something because LeBron hasn't really spoken. Obviously, the Lakers are being cautious. They're not saying much other than he'll be reevaluated at the proper times. And so it's more noise than anything. With a significant groin injury, to 2 or 3 weeks later to be wondering why he's not back tonight doesn't really compute for me. So I say continue to take your time and do what you need to do.
All players are different. We saw Steph Curry have a similar injury. He missed 11 games earlier in the season. Steph, of course, a little bit younger than LeBron. But taking it onto the basketball court, how urgent is it for a player of LeBron's stature, who's obviously the best player in the league, the most important player on their franchise, for him to get back, seeing how they've slid from a top 4 seed now down to teetering to maybe being a lottery team?
Well, it's important for him to get back as soon as possible, but that has to be done in the right way. Steph Curry's injury probably was a different type of injury. LeBron's play was an awkward play and looked to put much more severe strain on the groin area than the play we saw from Steph Curry's injury. Getting LeBron back is paramount, but remember, this is month 4 of year 1. So if you want the LeBron James for the next 3.5 seasons to play at the MVP type level that he's capable of and showing no signs of really slowing down, then it is paramount to be patient right now. a few weeks now saves you a few years later, and that's what they need to do with this young man.
Well, it seems like you definitely want to take that into consideration, but let's not forget LeBron's not getting any younger. We all know Father Time's undefeated, so while you still want to manage that injury, you still want to make sure you don't lose an opportunity. This is a team that was right there close to the 2 seed earlier in the season.
But that was early in this season. There was also a situation where, did we really think the Lakers were a top 2 or 3 team in the Western Conference right now? So what they're doing is exposing themselves for what we knew them to be without LeBron James. You know, a team that would be maybe battling for one of those final spots in the playoff mix. The bigger pressure to me on the Lakers is actually external. You got now a Utah team with a very favorable schedule coming up, you know, throughout this entire second half of the season, and they're playing better. So now if you're the Lakers, you're not just playing for the internal expectations. Now you got to worry about the real estate around you and who is climbing, who's coming up after you, chasing that playoff spot that you've been sitting in. That's where I think the pressure, not on LeBron or anybody else, but just on the organization itself, weighs heavier than it might have otherwise. Look at what the Jazz, the Kings, you know, and really the Timberwolves and Pelicans are kind of out there, but not a threat right now the way that the Jazz are, clear and present. And then the Kings, if they get on a roll, then that's another team you got to worry about. What you got to have, if you're the Lakers, is LeBron back healthy and drama-free down the stretch run of the season. If it takes 2 or 3 more games, 4 games, whatever it is, you weigh that out and allow LeBron the time he needs to get healthy.
We talked about this off cam, but showing the signs of panic is when you look at Magic, Rob Pelinka, and those guys. And Derek, I'll direct this question directly to you since you're familiar with the inner workings of that organization. Is there a situation where they make a knee-jerk reaction and make a move even though they're still waiting on LeBron just to try to maintain staying afloat in the Western Conference playoff standings?
I don't get the sense that that's what the feelings are. I think the thoughts lead more towards the future than right now. I believe the move to add LeBron James this year, or the decision that he made to come to L.A., was really about what they're going to build this year into next year and really positioning themselves to be a destination for another top free agent or another top player via trade. Mm-hmm. And I think they've done a lot of that work. I do think that there are other players around the league that at the right time, and if things fit together, they will be willing to join LeBron in L.A. And I think that's on track. And so I'm not sure if there's any huge move they would make in terms of LeBron being in or out. I think that move will be made either way.
The only potential wrinkle in this entire timeline, of course, is the trade deadline. You know, if somebody is desperate at the trade deadline to make a move or to do something, and the Lakers are on that phone, then all bets are off. We don't know what might happen. But I think that would be the case whether LeBron is in uniform
Correct.
or not.
That's what I agree with.
Having the trade deadline on the schedule the way we do before All-Star Weekend changes the dynamic, changes everybody's metric on how you approach it. That's the only, to me, if the Lakers get past the deadline, Fish, why would you do anything to upset what you potentially have going on this summer? You ride this season out no matter what, no matter who's healthy, let chips fall where they will, and continue with your long-term plan to build this organization back up to the point where it can be a contender for years to come.
The NBA trade line coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, so make sure you keep it locked right here on NBA TV, where we have all the latest updates on all the latest trade news. Luka Doncic, leading candidate for Rookie of the Year. We're going to talk to Jeff Skin Wade, who has all the insight on what's going on in Dallas. More Game Time coming up.